I am super excited to introduce someone that I have known for the better part of 20 years now. So, Kath Pay is the CEO and founder of Holistic Email Marketing. That's a boutique consulting firm that helps people develop customer centric journeys. And so, like many of us, she has been living and breathing email for basically a lifetime. And as AI has come and kind of entered the email scene, I have been super impressed with what Kath is doing here. She's combined her 26 years of experience along with all the capabilities of Gen AI to create persuasive email copy and bring us some great practical insights. And it's already taught me a few things I didn't know you could do with prompts. And what's even cooler is that Kath has used the AI assistant right inside of Beefree to create these examples. So big thanks to Kath for bringing those examples to life in a way that's both inspirational and practical to the audience that's here today. Kath, the floor is yours, and I will exit the stage for now.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Justine. And thank you for that lovely introduction. Quick agenda, because we've got a lot of content to get through. We're going to have a quick introduction to that behavioral science, persuasion principles, cognitive biases, and also buyer modalities. I'll explain all of them. We're also then going to be having a look at some ethical considerations, both for Gen AI and also for using persuasion. We're going to look at 3 examples, and then we're just going to finish off with just how we can, and what we need to do to integrate that into our email strategy. Quick little disclaimer, the following presentation is not meant to be prescriptive. So if you've got your notebooks there and you're ready to take down all these prompts and everything, I'm sorry to disappoint. I'm trying to do something bigger, right? I'm trying to teach you how that you can learn how to do it yourself. So to get you familiar, to get you practice, to actually make it so that it's easier for you to do rather than having to strictly follow prompts. I'm not a big believer in prompts. I'm a big believer in conversing with the AI. I know it sounds weird, right? What we're going to do is we're going to just quickly have a look at those 3 particular examples, and what we're going to end up going is in detail. But let's go and have a little quick discussion and a quick little walkthrough of what persuasion principles are, cognitive biases are, and buyer modalities are. Persuasion principles, they originated with Robert Cialdini, and he's written a book on it. Thoroughly recommend you to read this, because the whole idea is that, yes, we can start to use AI to leverage all of these wonderful behavioral science principles. We don't need to have our master's degree in behavioral science, which traditionally we've had to do in order to be able to leverage them. But we don't now, because we've got AI, and AI is going to be our helper in this. But at the same time, we are still the marketer. We are the director of the customer's journey. We understand our audience, our company, and everything. So we actually, for the moment, still know more than AI about certain things. So we really need to try and brush up on these kind of topics as well, so that you understand if AI is trying to pull a fast one on you. We're going to look at the 6 here: reciprocity, authority, commitment and consistency, liking, social proof, and scarcity. Now, these 6 principles can all be used within email marketing. We're going to have, I've got some definition. Actually, AI has given me the definition, which we can go through later on, okay? But reciprocity, you're probably very familiar with. Reciprocity simply means that we as humans don't like to be owing people, right? So if someone does us a favor, even if we just mentally have that little sort of bookmark in our mind, I owe them, right? Even if you don't verbally say it to them, you've got that happening. So that's reciprocity, liking as in social and everything, but also just liking someone. Social proof, we understand what that is. We understand what scarcity is, loss aversion, very similar to scarcity. Commitment and consistency is a slightly different one, in that what it is that we as humans are more likely to follow through if we give a small commitment up front. So that's why when you call to actions, when you're saying check out the range rather than buy now, you're asking too much of them. So you say, check out the range, or view the range, discover, explore, whatever the story is. And then that's a small commitment that they've gone to have a look at the website because you're not asking too much of them, right? That's commitment and consistency. It comes in a whole heap of different forms as well. And then authority. So authority figures, which is very much, we see that all the time with influencer marketing. Then we're going to look at some cognitive biases. Here's just 3 examples. I chose these ones because I thought you guys would probably know them. Again, curiosity gap, anchor effect, and authority bias. Robert Cialdini, he actually pulled these persuasion principles from cognitive biases. So they are behavioral science cognitive biases. And then we're going to look at the 4 biomodalities. So what we're doing here is we're just saying, okay, listen, we understand these are the kind of shoppers, buyers, online, offline, and all the rest of it too. And so we want to write copy that's targeting these people or these personalities, these modalities, and what resonates best with them. So let's get to the ethical considerations. AI-generated content, we have to be very thoughtful, very mindful. We have to make sure we're not infringing any copyright. We have to be very considerate. It has inherent biases as well. So there's a whole heap of things that you need to understand about using AI or AI-generated content. However, in this particular instance, with what we're doing, it's not too bad. So because what we're doing is we're calling upon things that are not proprietary. These are well known. These are used and everywhere. That's how humans function as such. But we also need to balance this with persuasion and ethical use of the persuasion. You know, as soon as you start saying persuasion and everything, people start immediately go, okay, you're trying to subliminally make me do something I don't want to do, right? That's not what persuasion, the ethical persuasion that we're talking about here. That's not how we use it. All we're doing here is we're trying to appeal to them to help them to be able to make a decision. That's what cognitive biases are all about. Now, a cognitive bias is simply something that we as humans have developed within ourselves without even knowing it from lessons learned that helps us to make a decision. That's much easier. So that's all it is. And we are just leveraging that fact. So we want to absolutely 100% avoid manipulative tactics. And there are some inherently manipulative biases, or shall I say there are some biases that can be easily exploited. So we want to avoid that. Just a final thing before we get into these examples. Pro tip. Understand that unless you have a private instance of an LLM or you have a Gen AI tool that is a private instance that only you have access to, then anything that you put in it can be used for learning. Any proprietary information that you put into it may be shared to others, may be exposed to others. At Holistic, we have our own private instance of ChatGPT. And because I use all of my proprietary information and I put it in and I've trained it and it has all of the information that I want it to be using. So I've really trained it well using my existing information. And I don't necessarily want that out on the web. I do want it out on the web, but I want it out in a controlled way, like what I'm doing today, okay? So just be careful of that. And then I'm just going to go and just quickly jump into a couple of tips for prompting. And this is going to set the scene for how we're doing these ones today. If you have a private instance and you've gone and trained it and you've gone and developed it and everything like that, then most of the time you just need to jump straight to the end prompt. But in this instance, we're assuming that you're going to be using the Beefree AI assistant or another free tool, in which case each time you're going to have to be building up. You need to be priming it as such so that it knows, it keeps everything in context in that particular conversation or that particular chat. Once you leave that chat, it's going to forget it. So you need to make sure that everything is here within that chat. So you want to be building up the request by priming it. Ideally, you want to be treating, and this is how I do it, and I've never had any problems. I've never found any difficulty with prompting or anything like that because I treat the AI tool like it's an eager intern. I go, wow, you're really good. You're eager. Is there anything else I can help you with? Let me know if you need any revisions, all that kind of stuff. So make sure, as you would with any eager intern, you give it a detailed brief. You let them know and say, they're going to need that and that and that. And if you forget a few things the first time, then you can go and add them later on. Over time, you're going to learn what is the key information that you need to do to impart into it. But it's the same with any campaign that you're writing. What do you need to know? What's the objective? What's the company like? What's your copywriting style? All the rest of it. Then the other thing I'd like you to do, which I find great success with, is I ask it to ask me questions. I say, same as I would, okay, to an intern. So this is the brief. Do you have any questions? Is there anything that I have omitted? Is there anything that you don't feel confident about that you still need more information about? It will ask you questions. Again, we've got some examples. And then also, when you're wanting the final delivery, right, the deliverable, ask for it to send you or to give you multiple options. Because what I like to do at the end of the day, what it's going to come up with is your first draft. There's no way you're going to copy and paste and stick it straight in. Beefree's AI assistant has got to regenerate, but there's also got an apply tool as well. So you can do that. But then go in and edit it within the email, or else you can edit it outside. It's up to you. So it really needs to be understood that it's a first draft. If you've got 3 different variations, then you might sort of go, oh, I like that from here, and I like that from here, and oh, that's a really good. The one thing you need to understand too, particularly if you haven't started using it yet, AI will never repeat the information the same way. It's always giving you different results, which is interesting, sometimes frustrating, but it can be very interesting as well. We're looking at the first example, that's persuasion principles in focus. So what this is all about is the Robert Cialdini's principles of persuasion, those 6 principles I mentioned at the beginning. We're going to be asking the AI tool, the Beefree assistant, about our brand. Now, what I've gone and done is I've created a fictitious brand, because we do this with our clients, but I don't want to bring any client work here. So I've made up a totally fictitious brand. We have then gone in and actually given it a different brand so that it's a real brand that's bringing information about that real brand. But anyhow, that's just for the purpose of this particular presentation. So we're going to ask about the brand, about the customers, about the products. Later on in another example, I'm going to ask about the ethics as well. That's a really interesting one. And then the third step will be to give the brief. First one is we're asking about the principles of persuasion. And here are those 6 definitions that I said, which were interesting. So remember what I said. The more you know about this, the more likely you're going to be able to read through that and say, I agree with that. I feel strong and confident that it's going to be able to use this content to deliver the results that I want. And that's what it's all about. So what we're doing is we're priming, but we're also giving you confidence that you're not going to be wasting your time briefing a tool, the AI tool, and then getting something completely obscure or anything like that. So if you take it step by step, little bit by little bit, it's like holding its hand. That's the best way to do it that I've found, rather than just do a big, I just want this, work your way through it. Reciprocity. People tend to feel obligated to return favors or concessions. Commitment and consistency. Once individuals commit to something, they're more likely to follow through. Social proof. People look to others to guide their decisions, especially in uncertain situations. Authority. Individuals are more likely to comply with requests from authoritative figures. Liking. People are more easily persuaded by those they like or find attractive. And scarcity. Perceived scarcity increases demand. People want what they believe is limited. I'm sure we've all heard them before and we all understand them. If, however, it's the first time, do you know what you could always do? Please tell me some more about each of them, and please give me an example or 2 of how they can be used within marketing. That might give you some ideas. That might help you to decide which principle you want to be using for this particular campaign, rather than the tool's decisions, okay? So I don't necessarily think that you should say, here's my brief, what principle should I use for this? Don't do that. You make that call. So fictitious brand is Fabric, and we're going to be asking our AI tool our assistant here, about the brand, about the customers, and about the products. And we can see here that Fabrique is a design company known for its focus on creating innovative and sustainable products. Blah, 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 all the rest of it. In terms of products, Fabrique offers a range of items. So basically, it has answered my question. You can see it was a very, very simple question. There was no complexity. I am literally conversing with it, and it gives me the answers that I want. And this is why I think there's a big thing happening about prompting. Everyone gets nervous. Oh, I've got a prompt, I don't know what to do. And I think it's more because they're going about it wrong as far as the strategy goes and trying to do everything in the one prompt rather than build it up. I've even used it. I give it all the information and then I say, now write the best prompt for me to use to get you to do all of this. And then it will come up with it. Give the brief. The brief was very simple. I gave it the objective. I gave it the products, the range, the pricing, the everything like that. And then I said, okay, can you now give me 3 subject lines, the main copy, and call to actions? So basically, it's the opening paragraph. So subject line options, we've got 3 here. Opening paragraph options, we've got that here. And then the main call to action options. We ended up using scarcity because the brief was that it was for last season's clothing range. We wanted to get rid of everything. So what we did was we used the much loved scarcity principle, and therefore we've got the subject line options, last chance, dresses running out, limited stock alert, all of those trigger words for loss aversion and scarcity, because that is the fact. We don't have all sizes available and there's limited stock and it's not going to be replenished and all the rest of it. And then I also asked for secondary call to action options underneath a product image as well. So only a few left, grab it now, limited availability. This is great. Now what I've gone and done here is I've gone and chosen one of those. We will use one subject line. And as of course we're going to be testing, we could test scarcity versus reciprocation or something like that, reciprocity. Don't leave yourself limited to just testing the different variations. Okay, fab. So cognitive bias and focus, this is a little bit more complex. We're going to be asking about the brand and the products and the customers like we did before. We're also going to ask about the brand's writing style and tone of voice as well. We're going to be giving the brief. And the reason why we're giving the brief this early on is because I'm wanting it to recommend 5 different cognitive biases that we can choose from, that you as the marketer can choose from. Now, there's 188 cognitive biases. Ideally, I asked in this particular instance, I said, highly effective, underused, ethical cognitive biases, and it came up with 5. And then select one of the 5 and then instruct it to ask you some follow-up questions, because remember, you've already given it the brief. So it will give you these follow-up questions. It gave me this approach, which is great. And then it gives you the end deliverable. So let's go and have a quick little look. We're jumping to step 3 or 4. All right. So we're asked about the brand. We've done all of that with tone of voice, everything. So the AI tool's been primed. It understands what we're doing. We've also given it the brief at this point in time. Out of the 5, I've chosen the mere exposure effect. I wanted to choose one that literally probably most people wouldn't have heard of. So essentially, this cognitive bias suggests that repeated exposure to a stimulus leads to an increased preference for it. The phenomenon occurs even without conscious awareness, meaning that individuals may favor items, people, or ideas simply because of their familiarity. For example, someone might prefer a song that they've heard multiple times over a brand new tune, even if the new one is objectively better. That is the cognitive bias that I selected, that I wanted to use for this particular email. And same brand, different product this time. We're selling summer sandals, pastel range. What it did is it said now, because I said, ask me a whole bunch of questions, or 5 questions to be specific. But again, you can do as many as you want. And it came up with some great questions. What are the key features of the new sandals that set them apart from previous models or competitors' offerings? Are there any specific design elements, materials, or technologies used in these sandals that you'd like to highlight in the email? I obviously omitted all of this information, basically because I wanted to do this presentation like this. So a lot of this information you would normally include, but I wanted you to see how it's picked up that important information that it needs to do its job has been omitted. But what we're going to do here is then we're going to have a look at this after I went and completed, gave it all the answers that it needed. It says, okay, great. So here it is. Here's the approach, essentially. So highlight key features, emphasize ultralight comfort and excellent arch support, showcase materials and colors, feature the man-made leather and new range of pastel colors prominently. So basically what it was doing is it's coming through and it's saying, okay, so this is what I'm going to be focusing on. This is what I'm going to be using and basing the copy on. This, again, is your time now to go through and make sure that everything has been included. And you might say, oh, listen, actually deprioritize this. It's good for them to know, but don't make it prominent. So you can be very specific with those kind of things as well. Then the next one is to just, great, instruct it. I want 3 subject lines. I want 3 main body copy and 3 primary call to actions. This is what it did. Now you can see how it's done it differently to last time. That's what I mean, it changes. So here we go. We've got 3 different options. And what they've gone and done here, I want to pull out. Revisit your favorite sandals with a fresh twist. Remember, we're talking about that the mere exposure bias. So that means bring in something familiar. Fall in love again with our updated sandal styles. Again, though, this is not the final version. This is the first draft because you need to put your effort into it. I've chosen just one of them. You're going to love our latest sandals, building on the comfort you already adore from our previous best-selling styles. Okay, and then rediscover the comfort. So you can see it's a very subtle, but it's calling upon the mere exposure effect. The third one, biomodality. We're going to ask it about the 4 biomodalities. Ask about your brand, your customers, your products. Ask for your brand's writing style and tone of voice. Give the brief. Instruct it to ask you 5 follow-up questions. Answer the questions, and then ask it to provide you with 3 subject lines. Obviously, I didn't spend as much time on this, refining and everything like that I would if it was a real campaign. I would have gone in and I would have asked further questions. I would have refined it a little bit more. I would have gone and done a few more things. But this is the essence of it. Asking about the 4 biomodalities by Brian Eisenberg: spontaneous, methodical, competitive, humanistic. These buyers, for spontaneous, they make quick decisions based on their emotions and intuition. They often seek immediate gratification and are attracted to bold marketing messages and promotions. Spontaneous buyers appreciate a seamless experience that allows them to make fast purchases without excessive deliberation. Methodical buyers are thorough and detail-oriented. They take their time to research products, comparing features, prices, reviews. This modality values extensive information and logical arguments before making a purchase decision. So marketers should provide clear data and organized content to cater for this group. Competitive buyers are driven by a desire to win and outperform others. They are looking for exclusive deals or limited time offers that highlight their ability to make their superior choices. These buyers respond well to marketing that emphasizes status, innovation, and performance. Humanistic buyers prioritize values and emotions over objectivity. They're often motivated by personal connections and ethical considerations such as sustainability and social responsibility. This modality appreciates storytelling and brands that align with their personal values, typically responding positively to heartfelt narratives and community-focused initiatives. How this differs than the others, when we're only going to look at one, we were looking at scarcity, we were looking at the mere exposure effect, cognitive bias. We want to create an email that addresses everything, all of these, because we don't want to leave anyone out. We want to make sure that we have an email that is going to resonate with all of the personalities. I've seen a test done many years ago, and they actually broke their audience up into these personalities and sent them different messages and trying to test to see what resonated best with them. It's a lot of work. I don't recommend doing it. You're not going to get the results. All you want to do is just have an email and someone can see something that resonates with them. What I'm going to do is go to the next step, and we're going to then go and ask, tell us about the company, tell us about Fabrique, tell us about the products and the customers and its ethics. Because remember, we're doing for personalities or those modalities, and the humanistic is very much interested in ethics. So I want to bring that in again as a way of priming the AI tool about it. The company overview, here it is. Ask for your brand's writing style and tone of voice. And here it is. It's just gone and given you this, which again is your verifying, yes, this is correct. And this is your opportunity to correct it if it's not correct. But also you are priming it. You're saying, okay, what is the style? So basically you're telling it, this is the style you need to be writing in. And then you want to be giving it the brief. So you give it the brief, and then you're going to be asking it to instruct you. So again, who's the primary target audience for these pastel sandals? Specific features? Are there any promotions, limited time offers? Do you have a preferred tonal style for the email, such as casual? Because within yours, you could also have a preferred one. And what's the desired call to action? So again, I left things out just so it could be asking questions. But even if you give it as tight a brief as possible, as detailed a brief as possible, I encourage you just to ask it questions as well. You might end up seeing, I've given it such a good brief, it's just asking me silly questions. And you know you've done a good job when that's the case, right? This is what it did. This is the result. So it gave me a subject line. This is just a generic first sentence. Then it's specifying and highlighting for me, for the spontaneous buyer, for the methodical buyer, for the competitive buyer, for the humanistic buyer. Now, this is where you would, with your knowledge about these 4 modalities, go in and say, that makes sense, that's good, that fits in with my knowledge, my experience of these personalities. You don't want it to be this long, okay? This is one version, so you can have multiple versions, and again, you can mix and match and you can blend. And this is what your skill set is going to be. You're going to be saying, okay, so I want to do this and I want to have that here, and then I'll blend this, and I'm just going to be giving a nod to this and so on. Because you're starting now, not with a blank page, you're starting with something that you can easily edit and make something incredibly compelling, because you have got AI as your tool to help you in your job. It's not to replace you. It's not to do anything absolutely amazing, but it is to help you to do something that most of us would not be able to do unless we had a behavioral science degree. And that is the beauty of this. There's really nothing stopping you. Okay, so the last point, like I said, so let's just look at integrating the Gen AI into your email marketing strategy. And I've just bundled it up into these 3 key principles, all right? Gen AI is a tool. That's what it is. And I love that Beefree have called it the AI assistant, because that's all it is. It's not your director. It's not your boss or anything like that. It is an assistant that you can use. That means that you have to make the decisions. You have to do the editing. You are the boss. You know your audience. The second one is we need to make sure that we're balancing the AI-generated copy or content with human creativity and expertise. Again, this is calling upon your skill set. This is not here to replace you. We're not talking about anything happening automatically or anything like that. It still needs you very much. The strategy, the briefing, then the editing, the actual, and I don't want to use the word prompting, the guiding, right? So you're guiding the information. I've thrown this one in because I have just referred a couple of times to testing. It's so important. I don't want you just to throw something out there and go, great, everything works. You need to be testing. I mean, you should be testing anyhow, right? But focus on the testing. And of course, while you're testing, you're going to be learning as well, learning about AI, learning about your audience, learning about these personalities, these cognitive biases, these persuasion principles, and refining and working out what is good to use when. One last thing I'm going to leave you with, though, is when we're talking about cognitive biases and persuasion principles, you're going to find a couple that work really well for you. Don't keep using them time and time again. Otherwise, they will lose their power. Save them for sales or something that is really meaningful to you. Identify them, absolutely, for sure, but refrain from using them time and time again, because and we see this all the time with loss aversion, right? Everyone says, yeah, but you'll have a sale next week, or you're saying the same thing that you said last week, last month, whatever. And I know it's going to be here next week. So I'm not going to make a decision and do it until I'm ready. So it's lost its power when that happens.
This has been so amazing, Kath. I don't know, you probably haven't been able to keep up, but one person said that this is like the most valuable webinar they've attended in a long time. They're learning so much. People have been really inspired by this presentation. We can't thank you enough. If you liked what you heard today, you should definitely check out Kath's business and her book on holistic email marketing. Again, so much experience, an award-winning author that we've got here with us today. So make sure to check out her book. And I couldn't leave you without reminding you that we acquired really good emails earlier this year. And between these two brands, we have over 2,000 templates in the Beefree catalog, 15,000 designs on really good emails, and of course, all of our awesome Gen AI features. And so tons of tools to help you take all of your ideas, whether it's copy, design, anything you got, from inspiration to creation. Looks like we've still got quite a few people here. We can probably take a couple questions. And since you mentioned A/B testing in your last slides there, do you have any specific tips about doing A/B testing specifically with AI?
Yeah, absolutely. I tend to do very advanced tests, and we use a holistic approach, which means that as long as we've got a hypothesis, let's stick with what we've been talking about, scarcity versus reciprocity, okay? We do very advanced ones, and therefore the hypothesis can get a little bit convoluted. But the hypothesis needs to be clear, because that's what we're following. That's what everything's going to be supporting. So therefore, I use AI to help me to write the hypothesis, and it does a great job. So I use that to write the copy, and then obviously first draft of the copy, and then I do all of the editing. I use it also to do data analysis as well. So that's, again, our private instance. There's a lot of things that you can be doing with it. We haven't automated anything yet, but because we have evolved our own holistic testing methodology, it's based on the scientific methodology of testing. What it is if, as long as you are supporting the hypothesis, each version, A and B, supports the hypothesis. You can have a subject line, a first body copy, an image, a call to action, and everything can all be supporting that hypothesis. So therefore, all of those elements can be calling upon the scarcity principle. And then in the B version, all of those elements can be calling upon the reciprocity principle. And it makes it a more robust test altogether. AI helps a lot with that, because that could get quite difficult to do or time
I
consuming.
remember trying to calculate statistical significance on A/B tests, and boy, I really wish that I had
Yes.
AI to help me do that.
Yes, indeed. No, it's a treat.
We continue to have lots of great questions. This one is really interesting. Can you use these persuasion techniques in transactional emails or order confirmations, account updates?
Basically, anything that you're wanting to persuade them to do. So if they need to be doing something, or that you would like them to be doing something, that it's going to help them, it's going to help you, you can. But again, you have to do a sanity check. Is this being manipulative? Is this helping them, or is it only helping me? If it's only helping me, you, the brand, I would say don't do it. If it's helping them as well, the customer, then yes, because that's what this is primarily in place for. The way I see it is there's two sides of the same coin. Our customer have their objective and we, the brand, have our objective. If we help our customer to do their objective, then we in turn are going to be rewarded. And that's why, if we take this approach, we're primarily here to help them, and then we will be helped in the end because they will achieve their objective, which is essentially our objective.
One of my favorite principles is always to ask what's in it for them. The question is, I work with a nonprofit and our emails have a donate now CTA. So this person's, I think, looking for advice about how to apply these principles to the nonprofit environment, because the examples that you've used here are e-commerce. So any tips for adapting this to another industry?
Just tell the children, just say, I'm nonprofit. You can instruct it of what to do, but you can also instruct it of what not to do as well. So it gives a really nice specific, so it knows not to do a buy now, right? And if you just don't want it, you want something different to donate now, then go and do that and ask for 10 different options. There's a chance that you might like some or some others, and just keep refining, keep working with it, keep going through and having a look until you end up getting the one that you want. Sometimes then it's also a matter of blending. I like these three. I do that all the time. That would be my advice. I know you feel very limited because historically it has been nonprofit. It has been very limited, but then historically so has e-commerce, and it has shop now, buy now, shop now. It's like, why are we doing that?
Such a great point.
On this email and go and shop now or buy now.
Yeah.
I'm going to go and explore. So yeah.
One of the most, I think, beautiful things about the age of Gen AI is that we're going to see a little bit more like diversity in our CTAs. So it's creative in that way. I can't thank you enough for your time today and for teaching us all these wonderful things about how we can coexist beautifully with Gen AI.
My absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, have a good time, and we'll see you later. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.